Watch this.
Truck drivers across Idaho are losing their licenses. Why new federal rules are forcing some off the road, and how it could impact jobs in the state's agricultural economy. And as we go beyond, a possible change to how defendants deemed mentally incompetent will stand trial in Colorado. An event years in the making, as crews on a Navy submarine with an Idaho namesake are equipped to hit the waves and go beneath them. Truckers are critical to this state and this nation's economy, but a lot of them are losing their jobs right now. Let's take you back to 2012. Then President Barack Obama used an executive order to implement the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals policy, or DACA. The policy allowed undocumented immigrants who met specific requirements to temporarily remain living and working in the United States. These dreamers had to be younger than 31, had to have come to the U.S. before they were 16, lived in the country continuously since '07, and were either in school or graduated. 5 years later, Trump's cabinet stopped DACA, but after a lengthy legal battle and another presidential election, DACA was reinstated. Fast forward to today, and a new federal transportation department rule is effectively removing non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses, or CDLs, from hundreds of thousands of immigrants, including those under DACA. An immigration attorney says her clients with work permits are being hit the hardest right now, facing sudden job losses in a vital industry. Here's Richard Rodriguez.
They're all getting letters from DMV revoking their CDLs and notifying them that they'll no longer have a CDL.
A letter that removes a means of work. It comes as a March 16th rule from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration restricting non-domiciled CDLs to just H-2A and H-2B visa holders. That's a type of CDL issued by the state to a driver who is legally present in the U.S. but is not a permanent resident. But the rule leaves out people who are granted asylum, temporary protected status, and DACA, which is a legal status in the United States. According to the AP, under the new rule, only 10,000 out of the 20,000 non-citizens nationwide with a valid CDL would qualify for them.
They're losing their jobs because they no longer have the license to work at that job.
In Idaho, lawmakers doubled down and passed House Bill 667, also targeting non-domiciled CDL programs outright. Applicants must prove Idaho residency and U.S. citizenship or lawful presence verified through the federal SAVE system. Having to comply with the federal rule and upcoming law, the Idaho Transportation Department sent these letters.
ITD oversees the DMV, which is the state's identity issuing authority. So under Idaho Code 49-315 and 49-306, the DMV is required to confirm every applicant's identity and lawful presence, and that includes citizenship.
Hitting DACA truckers in our agricultural-driven economy. Immigration lawyer Nikki Ramirez-Smith says her clients were brought here as children, and America is their home.
This is their country. This is their home. They've been here since they were toddlers.
The policy follows deadly crashes involving non-citizen drivers in Florida and California, where thousands of questionable licenses were revoked. But Smith argues it's hurting legal workers we need.
We need truckers. That is a major industry that we need to transport food, to transport goods. It's devastating for the economy as well.
Now, we don't have the direct numbers of how many DACA recipients have been infected in Idaho, but it's a conversation with Nikki. She says that many who have come to her door for help say that they're worried about their future. Justin?
Richard, really interesting story there. And we need to stress these drivers are here legally, correct?
Yes, DACA, you are here legally. You came here as a child and you've been living in our education system.
Right, and it was not your choice. Normally brought here by your parents. Yes, you're here in this country, been living here, and then driving and working here for a number of years. All of a sudden, these guys don't have a license.
Yeah, it's just gone.
All righty, Richard, really interesting. Appreciate that. Now on to the 411 on the 208. you missed it last weekend, don't worry. More sheep are crossing Highway 55 tomorrow. This second crossing going to include 2,500 ewes and lambs. They're going to cross the road at Beacon Light and Highway 55 there by Eagle. It's expected to start at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Don't miss it. Raffle tickets for the 2026 St. Jude Dream Home giveaway are on sale, but they are going fast. This year's Dream Home is in the Valor community of Kuna. The estimated value, $900,000, nearly $1 million. New this year, a $2,500 Visa gift card if you buy a ticket before May 15th. You can win that. All proceeds benefit St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We've already sold 20,000 tickets. That means $2 million raised so far. We will sell out. We do that every year. Tickets bought by May 1st, though, are going to be eligible to win a 2026 Ford truck. That's courtesy of Idaho Ford stores. So you got a week. Anyone who visits the Dream Home during Parade of Homes from May 2nd to the 17th can also enter to win a $10,000 more furniture shopping spree. If you've got old or unused prescriptions sitting around, you can get rid of them safely this weekend. Tomorrow's Drug Take Back Day. It is free, it is anonymous, and it helps keep dangerous medications out of the wrong hands and out of the water as well. They can be dangerous there. We have a full list of where you can drop these off on our website at ktvb.com, and that is the 411 on the 208. Colorado is struggling with what to do with criminal defendants deemed mentally incompetent. There's bipartisan agreement at the Capitol that the state needs to improve that aspect of the mental health system. Angeline McCall in Denver reports on a reform bill that's been about 40 changes along the way as we go beyond the 208.
For people in and out of the Capitol, one bill feels deeply personal.
Through tears, she stated that her deepest regret was that my family would be walking away not with a sense of justice and closure, but instead an immeasurable sense of prolonged suffering.
Families testified earlier this month that they waited on justice that never came because defendants were deemed mentally incompetent, then charges dismissed and released. Those stories at the intersection of mental health providers with their own concerns.
This bill allows courts to override that judgment. That creates a fundamental misalignment. The clinician remains responsible for the patient's care, but may no longer have the authority to determine when continued involuntary treatment is clinically appropriate.
Senate Bill 149 would change the system. Right now, defendants may just be released with charges dropped. And in several high-profile cases, those same defendants have reoffended after release.
Primary goal here was to say if somebody is dangerous and is committing high-level crimes and they're found that they're not going to be able to be restored to competency in their foreseeable future, that we find them a placement where they can be kept safe.
Democratic State Senator Judy Amabile is one of the bill's sponsors, saying this change is overdue. If passed, defendants could be civilly committed.
You cannot participate in your own defense, and we want you to go to a facility that is designed to treat people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities, to care for them.
Among the top obstacles lawmakers are trying to take on is the cost for these resources, the amount of beds available, and reimbursements for mental health providers amounting to 40 amendment requests.
There are still some parts in there where we are amending or changing some of the civil commitment rules, and that will impact more than just the people who this bill is meant to impact.
Let's talk about Idaho now. And you cannot plead not guilty by reason of insanity here. The Idaho law simply does not allow that. What the law does allow is pausing a case if a defendant is too mentally ill to even understand the proceedings, what's going on. They get treatment, and then when they're stable enough to stand trial, the case moves forward.
The seamless connection between crew and citizens is amazing.
A moment that's been building for years as the Navy prepares to commission the USS Idaho for service. Coming up, a look back on the sailors from the past who played a major role in this U.S. history. We've been talking about it all week. The USS Idaho is going to be commissioned for service tomorrow. Back in March of 2024, we brought you to Connecticut for the christening of the USS Idaho, the first U.S. Navy christening of an Idaho in more than 100 years. The new boat is a Virginia-class submarine. In short, it's a warship. They're built to take out enemy ships, collect intelligence, and support special operations. It's going to hold a 132-man crew. But we're now going to show you the men of the past, the USS Idaho crew from the 40s. Andrew Bartline shows us they were front and center for one of the biggest moments in world history in this 208 callback.
In an oversized Atlantic coast warehouse,
of building submarines like we have never built before.
Nationwide crowds on deck for a celebration.
Idaho's contribution to national security.
More than half of the commissioned Navy fleet owes them one word: nuclear.
Gives us an unfair advantage against every potential adversary.
And the latest crew,
the gem of the fleet,
will pilot the designation long overdue.
So if I could get a big round of applause for that team.
For nearly 80 years, the name's been dormant.
It's high time we give honor and again christen another USS Idaho.
A name that could never be lost.
With his buddies.
That's the truth.
He's
in a scrapbook.
Here and here.
Saved through Eileen.
Yeah.
Her husband Al Werdzek served on the previous USS Idaho in World War II. Al was one of 4 living crew members invited to the new ship's christening.
It would have been really great if he could have made it. So.
Al's son Chris says he died nearly 3 years ago, a hero.
He was, but he never thought he was.
Humble strength always has a source.
Can't get away from Idaho.
It's where Al's parents met and married. It's where Al trained after enlisting. It's the boat where Al served.
They kept track of their kills, their submarines.
Well worn from battle.
This is the one time that it did get damaged enough to have to go get repaired.
But never once was she sunk.
The Japanese claimed to have sank her 3 times or more. They'd get patched up, and they were right back in the fight.
A full embodiment of the name, down to the final second of World War II.
When the surrender happened with Japan, they had the surrender signing on the Missouri battleship, and they brought the Idaho in and parked it right next to the Missouri, kind of as I thought you said you sank the Idaho, it's right there.
A piece of history Chris pulled from the scrapbook for himself.
This is to certify that Al Werdzek was aboard the USS Idaho in Sagami湾and Tokyo Bay during the initial phase of the occupation of Japan and the signing of the terms of the Japanese surrender. And it's signed by the captain and first officer.
Big shoes to fill.
Pretty cool.
It's a task now left up to the next Idaho crew, and they know it.
The BB-42, the battleship?
Even to sailor Robert Bossian.
Oh yeah, it came with a bunch of surprises.
Proudly from the Panhandle.
I like being part of the Idaho, the state, and being part of the crew. Makes me feel a little bit more prideful that I know what the namesake means. I know how to carry myself as an Idahoan and bring that to the boat and share Idaho with the rest of the crew.
It's history that doesn't fade.
Once again, USS Idaho.
And protected by former Governor Dirk Kempthorne.
The seamless connection between crew and citizens is amazing.
Kempthorne shows them what's left of the last USS Idaho, what can still be seen, felt, touched.
This is one of the spots they visited in June of 23. The Veterans Memorial Cemetery.
They went and visited your husband.
They did. Isn't that amazing?
These sailors had never met Al or his family.
I'm just honored to be part of it.
Even down to the smallest details, there's Idaho. Yeah! Loud and proud.
And it just brought all those, all those feelings back. Yeah.
A lifetime later, the Werdzeks know they can't shake it.
No, it keeps coming back.
And may she endure forever. Esto Perpetua.
Esto Perpetua, indeed. You saw former Governor Dirk Kempthorne in that story. Earlier this year, the U.S. Navy announced it named the engine room aboard the USS Idaho after Kempthorne. It honors his decades of military support and leadership on the submarine's commissioning committee. And we caught up with him in January after he got the news. Take a listen.
I've been there since day one for the ship, and but we have such a team that surrounds us. So when I say humble, there's a lot of folks that need to receive accolades for what they've done for this ship. I'm amazed. I'm just amazed. And it's a tremendous honor. And I will, for the rest of my life, support that ship, that crew, and the family.
Oh, it's awesome. I can't wait. We're going to be streaming the commissioning ceremony tomorrow morning at 9 our time. You can watch that on KTVB Plus and KTVB.com, 9 a.m. tomorrow.
5:20 on your Friday afternoon. We're looking at I-84 and Garrity on that westbound traffic. It's not moving too slow. It seems like things are starting to pick up a little bit more. If we look at current traffic flow, speeds are moving at about 25 miles per hour in a small area in between Meridian and Nampa, so that border near Canyon and Ada County there. Drive times are about 30 minutes from Boise to Caldwell, less than 10 minutes though from Boise to Meridian. Let's go ahead and talk about some weather now. Overnight tonight, we have a freeze warning that will go into effect starting at 11 p.m. for the Snake River Plain altogether. We could see temperatures as low as 26 degrees, so that's even colder than the hard freeze temperature of 28 degrees. This is in place until 9 a.m. tomorrow, so once the sun starts to come out, it will warm us up a little bit, but this should be the coldest night for the next week ahead of us, so some things to keep in mind. Make sure you keep your sprinklers off. You don't want any water in your sprinkler systems because if there is water, it could freeze, expand, and crack or do any damage to some pipes potentially. Same goes for all outdoor plumbing. You want it to be covered with the proper insulation. And of course, we always talk about delicate plants. Bring them inside if you can. If you can't, cover them outside. If you cover them, you want to use breathable fabric. Something like an old sheet would do the trick for that. Tonight, it will be a cool evening. It's been a pretty brisk day, especially with those periodically breezy winds outside. By 8 p.m. though, we'll be in the low 50s. 9 p.m. we're already in the 40s, so it'll be pretty brisk by the time we see the sun go down at 8:39. We are looking at an overnight low at 31 degrees for Boise, so the City of Trees will reach that sub-freezing point. Typically, the coldest time of the day is just before the sun comes up, so 30s for Boise and Nampa, a couple spots in the valleys, but Ontario through Mountain Home, even down to the Magic Valley, some spots that will be well into the 20s. Jerome, Twin Falls, Haley, some spots that will be below that hard freeze of 28. Stanley, of course, one of the coldest areas, looking at a low of 13 degrees tomorrow morning. So below average across southwest Idaho altogether. We could see a few of these mountain sprinkles just linger through sunset tonight, and then they should die down overnight. It'll be a cold but quiet night across southern Idaho. Tomorrow, those afternoon showers could return very lightly in the mountains. Meanwhile, Treasure Valley is going to be pretty quiet for the weekend ahead of us. Now, Saturday night into Sunday, there is a chance that precipitation moves in from the south and sends a quick round of moisture through the Snake River Plain. It does seem like it hits Mountain Home further east. So if you wake up to some damp roads on Sunday, don't expect it to be rainy all day because by late Sunday morning, that precipitation has shifted to southeast Idaho. So most of our area will be largely unaffected by precipitation. We just can't rule out the chance at seeing a stray shower or two altogether. Generally, Sunday through Tuesday is when we're going to see that slight chance of precipitation. There's a chance you don't see any showers at all. Sunday will be breezy once again, so it'll feel a little bit cooler, but we just have to hold out till Wednesday. By Wednesday, we see plenty of sunshine and warmer temperatures again. Wednesday is when we finally see temps right around our average of 65 this time of year, and then we're climbing through the end of the next work week when we are into the mid 70s a week from now.
Comments time. Ken asking what happened to the old USS Idaho. There were 4 previous USS Idahos, including a battleship in World War II that earned 7 battle stars. This, the first nuclear sub, going to be the gem of the fleet. Get it? Because it's named after the gem state.